Folks, welcome back to another episode of Coffee, Tea, and Crime. Today's episode, a slap in the Bronx. Now, the consensus of NYPD investigators is that this case we're going to talk about is the case of mass murder, or maybe you'd call it a case of revenge. Investigators are pretty sure that all this is going to begin August 1992. Now, it seems that the wife of one of the suspects involved in this case, she's at Rikers Island talking to her husband, who's doing a little time in the pokey for a narcotics charge. She tells him that, I got in a fight with what's-her-name that you used to date. Her brother stepped in and slapped me around. Well, whatever the injuries were, evidently it didn't set well with the suspect. Now, the police theorize that he was plotting his revenge from that very moment. So he let this go cold for a little while. So now it's February 1993. Now, I'm not for sure exactly when the suspect actually got out of prison. But he obviously got out of prison prior to February 1993. Well, he gets 4 of his buddies, and he's going to go wreak a little revenge on the ones responsible for slapping his wife around. So it's February 13th, Valentine's Day Eve. Now, some of the resource material thinks this is a drug dispute, and maybe it is. Or maybe it was a gang thing, and maybe it was. The police are pretty adamant this is just simply revenge. So I guess you could just pick your poison when it comes to what the motive is. So now they head over on Prospect Avenue, where the main fella is that they're wanting to get, the one that did the slapping of this fella's wife, the suspect's wife. So they get there and they go through a door. The building's supposed to be secured access. They even got a guard there. You're only supposed to be one way in and out, I guess, at night for sure. But anyways, one of the doors was broken, and the guard that was supposed to be on duty, he wasn't there. In fact, he later testified in court he was 2 hours late getting there. So now these 5 men, armed as they were, they go to the apartment of the slapper. Now, unfortunately, this wasn't just a slapper that was in that apartment. It was 5 people, 6 total counting the slapper. So these 6 individuals are in that apartment. Now, evidently, one of them was getting ready to go to work because the one victim, she had her coat on and her keys in her hand, and was evidently leaving the apartment to go to work. So they lined them up and they shot them all 6 of them. Now, the media would later want to make something of the fact that, well, it must not have been just revenge, because if it was just revenge, why would you kill all these other people? Well, the reason you'd kill all these other people is because you're known to them. So if you're going to go up in the apartment, you're going to have to kill everybody. Now, of course, I'm thinking if you just this one guy that beat your wife, you could catch him out by himself, but I guess I guess that ain't how the way they played it. So, any event, we got 6 human beings dead. Now, from the get-go, the police are, the word is out on the street who's responsible for this, because now they've done heard about the suspect's wife getting beat up or slapped around, whatever the case was. Well, they talked to him and they talked to some of his cohorts that they think were involved. Well, they're not getting anything out of any of them. Mainly because you don't have anything to hang on them right now, so they're not going to say anything. Well, now, about 10 days later, suspect, his wife, who's pushing the carriage, it's got their little baby in it, and one of the suspect's buddies, they're going into the Bronx County Courthouse. Suspect's got a drug charge. Now, they're inside the courthouse, and a fella wearing a Kevlar vest carrying a pistol, who happens to be a friend to the victims that were murdered on Valentine's Day, he decides he's going to get a little revenge. So he starts cranking off rounds. Well, as is usually the case when you've got these 10-penny gunmen blasting away, they pretty well hit everybody but who they wanted to hit, basically. Because the gunman was definitely going after the suspect and probably going after the fella that was with him, because the word was that the ones who had did it were all known, and the suspect and his buddy in the courthouse were 2 of them. So he cranks off the rounds, he wounds the suspect's little buddy. He misses the suspect entirely, but he shoots and kills the wife, who was not a target. At least they don't think she was a target. So now the gunman, he takes off running. He gets outside the courthouse, and a court officer chased after him, got out there and shot him there on the sidewalk. Now, he lived, but he got a murder charge to go with the bullet wound he got. So now the police are saying, okay, we've got woman gets beaten, revenge is taken, 6 people die. Now we've got another revenge for the 6 people killed, and we got a woman dead and a fella shot, and then the suspect in that one they shot. Absolute mess. But it ain't hard, I guess, to follow the breadcrumbs on this one. Evidently, the suspect's so distraught over the death of his wife, investigators talk to him and he confesses, names all his co-defendants, and after that they just fall like dominoes, one after the other. All confess. Now, the suspect and his 4 buddies that went with him are all convicted of murder and all sentenced to life in prison. Now, it didn't end there, because there was a civil trial. The owners of that apartment complex were sued over the fact that the broken door lock and the fact there was no security guard on duty. The security guard would testify in a civil trial, and he said he did admit he was 2 hours late for work. And he volunteered the fact that the front door lock was weak. Now, that could be, the word weak could be code for it didn't work. And he told that civil jury that, yeah, you could get in without having a key to get in. When it was all said and done, the owners of that building, they forked over $6.23 million for the death of those 6 people, which was 38% of the total award. Now, of course, the rest of that, 5 men that are in prison are supposed to pay the rest of that. I don't imagine they'll be seeing any money from them 5.